Welcome back to living in Austin, Texas. You know, if you're relocating to the greater Austin area, it can be challenging, it can be confusing because Texas itself is so large, which means the greater Austin area follows suit. It is massive and you have so many options to choose from and to do your homework on. You have Cedar Park, you have Leander, you have Liberty Hill, you have Georgetown, you have San Marcos, you have Pflugerville, you have Manor, you have Taylor, so many different options, but perhaps none more popular than Round Rock, Texas. And in this video, we're going to give you the cliff notes of Round Rock, a general summary of what you can expect so that hopefully by the end of this video, we will have helped you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it might be right for you. Stay tuned. Hey again everybody, my name is Frank, that right there is my dog Duke. I am the man in the chair making the videos happen with my yappin', and I am partnered with our killer, our closer, licensed agent Caleb Reitmer, and together we help people just like you who are wanting to relocate to the greater Austin area find that perfect spot. So don't hesitate, whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day, it is what we love to do. So yes, as mentioned in this video, we are talking about the very popular Round Rock, Texas. It is basically the hub of the greater Austin area that isn't downtown Austin. We're going to talk about its location, we're going to talk about the things to do, we're going to talk about the school districts, and we're going to talk about its affordability, giving you those aforementioned cliff notes to help you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it might be the right option for you. So let's waste no more time and jump right in. Starting off with the location of Round Rock, Texas, the first thing you should know is that it is very large. So your distance from Round Rock to downtown will differ depending on where exactly you are in Round Rock. On average, it is going to be roughly 30 minutes to the heart of downtown. However, if you live in the northern part of Round Rock, it might look like 40. And if you live in South Round Rock, closer to Pflugerville, it might just be 20 minutes. So if you're coming from a place where your normal commute, say in San Francisco or LA, might be an hour just to get there, that is going to be quite a breath of fresh air. However, if you're someone who's used to something just a hop and a skip away, that is something to be mindful of. For what it's worth, I am aware that many of us nowadays strictly work from home or have that hybrid work model, but many of us still go to the office, many of us still commute, so I feel it is relevant to bring up. On that note, something else worth mentioning is a lot of the people who relocate to the greater Austin area and they work in tech, for example, they're not always working downtown. A lot of that tech is in North Austin, that North Austin Tech Hub. So the proximity from Round Rock, Texas to that North Austin Tech Hub on average is going to be around 15 to 20 minutes, which is much nicer, again, if you are used to driving a long way. Though I should also say, and this will be my final point pertaining to the location of Round Rock, is that a lot of people actually work in Round Rock. It's not like Cedar Park, for example, or Leander, which is more textbook suburbia. Round Rock is, as mentioned, this hub other than downtown Austin. There is a ton of employment in Round Rock. So if you are going to end up working there and you live there, all the better. But otherwise, that is what you can expect regarding its location to downtown Austin. Up next, let's talk about the things to do in Round Rock, Texas, which is something that Round Rock has going for it, at least compared to the other suburbs, as I've mentioned. A lot of the other places which are great to live, they have great home communities, they have great schools, grocery stores, etc., don't necessarily offer a lot to do. They really are, as mentioned, just textbook suburbia. Round Rock has always been a little different in the sense that it has so much going for it, so many activities to do. And what I will say though, in the spirit of fairness, is I would still describe them as suburban things to do, right? It's what you can expect in a city slash suburb. So I don't want you to take my words and think that I'm talking about it having maybe comparable things to do with Austin, Texas itself, right? Austin is going to have museums, it's going to have art exhibits, it's going to have all the things that make it Austin, Texas. So Round Rock is most certainly not that, but as mentioned, yes, it does have its fair share of things to do. For starters, you have downtown Round Rock. It is a bit historic, it is very quaint, it is very charming. You will have boutique shops, eateries, antique shops, things of that nature that just make it fun to walk around, grab a drink, go out to eat, go shopping, that kind of thing. Outside of that, you also have Kalahari, which was recently built in the past few years. It is, to my knowledge, I might be mistaken, the largest indoor water park in the country. If not the largest, probably top 2 or 3 if any others have been built since Kalahari. It is not just an indoor water park though. It kind of feels like you're walking into Las Vegas, if that makes any sense. You walk in, it's just very grandiose. There's a lot of video game sections for the kids. There's places to get drinks if you're an adult. They have hotel rooms if you want to make a weekend out of it. That kind of thing is very appealing for a lot of people, not just who live in Round Rock, but they come to Round Rock to go to Kalahari. Outside of that, you've got the famous Dell Diamond in Round Rock, essentially an arena for baseball games and events. And you have a lot of parks in Round Rock too, right? It is a suburb slash city, but because of its size, you have a lot of nature spots that are very underrated. A lot of people think the only nice nature spots are in downtown, and to some extent that is true, but Round Rock does have a lot to offer if you're into walking, cycling, going to parks, playing basketball, taking the kids, that kind of thing. Other than those things though, I will say, back to the whole point of it being kind of like suburban things to do, you will have those things like IKEA, for example. There is an epic IKEA in the heart of Round Rock. You have an amazing outlet mall, the Round Rock Premium Outlets. But again, these are kind of those big box things I'm talking about, things typical of a place like Round Rock, as opposed to, as mentioned, the more nuanced, eclectic options you'll have downtown. But the good news is with Round Rock, it is so well located, right? If you're itching for more of that city life, if you want to do more recreational activities in the city, as mentioned, you're not that far removed. It's not like it's an hour drive to get to the heart of downtown Austin. As mentioned, oftentimes it's just an easy 20 minutes. Another good thing about the location of Round Rock pertaining to its things to do is you're also close to Georgetown. And Georgetown, unlike the other suburbs I mentioned that just don't have a lot going on outside of being nice places to live, Georgetown has a lot of things to do. My favorite thing to do in Georgetown is go to the town square. They have shops, they have bars. It's kind of like Round Rock's downtown, but in my opinion, a little better. I love going to Georgetown, especially because they let you take your drinks outside legally and walk around with them. At Christmas time, they deck it out and all the decor is absolutely beautiful. So what I'm getting at is if you live in Round Rock, for whatever reason, if you don't prefer Georgetown, it's a hop and a skip away. Georgetown on the map is directly north of Round Rock, probably 10, 20 minutes max, again, depending on where in Round Rock you are because it is so large. So at the end of the day, what I am trying to say is if you live in Round Rock, you will not be bored, okay? You have a lot of options, whether in Round Rock or close by, so just keep that in mind. Keeping it moving, let's now talk about the schools in Round Rock, Texas. In my opinion, other than, say, Dell, I would say that the schools are actually what put Round Rock on the map. They are very highly praised. They are sought after. They are considered the cream of the crop schools in the greater Austin area, perhaps second only to now Leander, Texas, which has recently overtaken Round Rock, at least according to public information, as the top district in the entire greater Austin area. However, I would say if we're talking about districts, Leander is younger. I would say it has climbed that ladder more so in the past 10 to 15 years, whereas the Round Rock Independent School District has been very established for a longer time. Either way, you are safe with both options, and either way, that is something that absolutely makes Round Rock so strong. That is really something that has a lot to do with the growth it has seen, because yes, you have young professionals who might not have kids, they might be single without partners, but so many of the people that flock to Round Rock do so either with families already or with the intention of starting a family, and they look no further. So if you don't want to take my word for it, of course, you do have the public information as mentioned. My favorite source has always been niche.com. It doesn't just talk about school districts, it talks about suburbs, it talks about quality of life, all that good stuff. Well, according to niche.com, the Round Rock Independent School District gets a letter grade of an A, which if you are familiar the way I am with niche.com, it doesn't just easily dish out A's. You see a lot of C pluses, you see a lot of B minuses, B's, B pluses, but it's very rare when you see those A's. And to my knowledge, the only district that has an A plus other than Round Rock would be Leander. Technically speaking, there is a teeny tiny district in the very expensive Westlake Hills that also has an A plus, but I don't really count that because it is such a tiny sample size as opposed to these monsters of districts like Round Rock or Leander that have multiple elementary, middle, and high schools. Finally, on the subject of schools, I will mention the districts in the state of Texas really are, I would say, state of the art or cream of the crop compared to other public school districts in the country. And it's not just a Round Rock or Leander thing, this really is a Texan thing. Most of the time they are such high quality, I often compare them to private schools, right? I've heard horror stories of other public schools from California or the Northeast, for example, homeless people in the stairways, outdated technology, chalkboards, broken ACs, things like that. Here in Texas, I mean, you have football stadiums comparable to college stadiums, right? You have performing arts centers that are brand new and humongous. You have tremendous boosters, a lot of resources that just pile into these schools and make them so great. So that is what you can expect. Round Rock really does hang its hat on its districts. It hangs its hat on so many things, but the schools, in my experience, especially with the clients we've helped relocate to the greater Austin area, those schools are at the top of the list, which is why probably if you're watching this video, they're at the top of yours too. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, last but certainly not least, let's talk about the affordability of Round Rock. Something I mention a lot of times in our videos is there is this perception of Austin, Texas, that it has become unaffordable. Like you just can't live here anymore unless you're absolutely loaded. And if you're talking about the metro, right? If you're talking about the city limits, in many cases that is true. And it is very sad. You know, it's going in that direction of Los Angeles or San Francisco, for example. But something I like to mention in defense of that, you know, in the spirit of fairness, is that sure, if you want to live in Austin, then that's what you're stuck with. But you don't have to live in Austin. You can live in this gigantic greater Austin area, 15, 20, 30 minutes away from the city, easily dabble in the city whenever you choose, not having to be stuck in it, and pay significantly less. And that is the case including Round Rock. Is Round Rock going to be as dirt cheap, for example, as Taylor, as Manor, Texas, right? Probably not. Those places are going to be less developed. They're not really the hubs that Round Rock is. However, Round Rock is still pretty competitive with its median home price. As of now, it averages between, I would say, $400,000 and $430,000, meaning if that's the median, you can absolutely find things less than that. And of course, if you're wanting to splurge, it has a lot of gated communities as well, master planned communities, estates, acres, that kind of thing. You have your plethora of options because again, Round Rock is so large. And the reason I say competitive though is because if you talk about, say, Cedar Park, Texas, Leander, Texas, Georgetown, Texas, a lot of those options are going to have median home prices that are much closer to $500,000, in many cases on average more expensive than Round Rock, and yet they aren't nearly the hubs, the destinations that Round Rock is. So I would say that is good news if it more or less matches your budget and you're not trying to end up in a place that is so cheap because it has nothing to offer, right? I do think Round Rock marries the two things quite beautifully, those two things being affordability, accessibility. You're able to buy your first home, for example, if your budget is on the smaller side, while still being such a sought after, in demand, popular destination. And so there you have it. As mentioned, a quick, brief, generalized summary of Round Rock, Texas, the cliff notes, if you will. Of course, I could elaborate further on Round Rock, but I don't think any of us want an hour-long video on our hands. Hopefully, we have helped you arrive at your own conclusion, or at least get closer to that conclusion as to whether or not Round Rock might be right for you. If it is, perfect. And if it's not, great. That means you have an idea of what you're looking for. Maybe you prefer Leander. Maybe you prefer Dripping Springs. Maybe you prefer San Marcos or anything in between. Again, that is what we are here for, helping people just like you who are wanting to relocate to the greater Austin area find that perfect spot. But again, the only way we can do that is, yes, by you reaching out to us. So don't hesitate. Whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. And if you haven't been able to tell by now, on this channel we talk about living in Austin, Texas, the greater Austin area, the good and the bad. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and ringing that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Click the like button if we've been providing any value for you. Share it with anybody you know who might be wanting to learn more about Austin. And until the next time, you guys, my name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.